Welcome, everyone. My name is Clay Nessler. I'm the interim president of the Alliance to Save Energy, and it is my great pleasure to welcome you to our first annual Active Efficiency Forum. Today's forum is a capstone of our first year of the Active Efficiency Collaborative. We started this initiative because we've seen that energy efficiency is expanding. From classic energy efficiency of weatherization, appliance standards, we now have additional opportunities in demand flexibility, electrification, grid interactive efficient buildings, and digitalization can be a real game changer. It means that we can think about efficiency not only in deep silos devoted to one end use, but as the connective tissue that ties our energy systems together. And when we view it from this frame, we also find new opportunities to scale up energy savings, emission reductions, and the multiple benefits for consumers. This is why we started a new terminology, active efficiency, to describe this enhanced universe of options. It is efficiency because it is still our method to achieve energy optimization and reduce energy waste. And it's active because it requires us to be proactive to make it happen. But it's no small task to take this to a higher level and integrate not only our devices in our buildings, but our communities of utilities, energy managers, ESCOs, public interest organizations, and others. It requires a shared vision for our industry, a common language, and a commitment for us to work through common challenges with new stakeholders. That is why we started the Active Efficiency Collaborative. The collaborative is a community of industry leaders, NGOs, public sector institutions working to accelerate the adoption of active efficiency, which encompasses these new innovations working alongside traditional measures. It does this by deepening collaboration among stakeholders, cultivating champions, and developing strategies and policies to scale up energy efficiency at a federal, state, and local levels. This year, the collaborative focused on three main deliverables. First, a report on beneficial electrification with a focus on grid opportunities, the ability to connect these increasingly smart pieces of equipment to the grid in order to provide services to the grid and enhance the benefits it can bring to all stakeholders. A series of reports on performance-based utility programs, culminating in the development of guiding principles for next generation performance-based utility program models. And finally, a series of case studies and a new active efficiency website as the nexus for us to share the story of active efficiency, policy recommendations, and other lessons learned. I visited the website this morning for the first time, and it is truly a great deliverable. One of the best digital assets I think I've seen in our industry, and in fact in others as well. So my compliments to the team that worked very hard over the past year to deliver the outputs of the first year of the Active Efficiency Collaborative, and to create something that I think will serve the industry and all of our stakeholders over time. To some, this may sound like an industry trend that might be only relevant to high-end urban contexts, or those of greater means to invest in technologies to benefit from this. But that is certainly not the case. And to kick this off, we're going to start off with a conversation today in the beautiful state of Maine. At this point, I'd like to introduce Natasha, who's been a lead in the Active Efficiency Collaborative since its very inception, when it was just a vision in people's minds well over a year ago. And she and her team have really brought together some really great outcomes and deliverables out of that work. Natasha, over to you.
Thank you, Clay. So it's my great honor to introduce Michael Stoddard. He is the Executive Director of the Efficiency Maine Trust, And before coming to the trust, he was the senior counsel at ENE, now the Acadia Center, where he was involved in electricity restructuring across New England. He also conducted advocacy for building energy codes, appliance standards, energy efficiency budgets, sustainable transportation systems, climate change action plans, and adoption of the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative. He was also the co-author of the Acadia Center's 2006 Climate Change Roadmap for New England and Eastern Canada. Prior to his work at the Acadia Center, Michael was the assistant to the chairman of the Federal Election Commission, and before that served as assistant counsel for election processes at the National Democratic Institute for International Affairs, NDI, in Washington, D.C., and Johannesburg, South Africa. So before we jump into the real topic, I might just say a few words about Efficiency Maine Trust. It's a really interesting model. So the Efficiency Maine Trust is Maine's statewide administrator for energy efficiency programs. So while in most states, the utilities run energy efficiency programs, in Maine, they are planned and implemented by Efficiency Maine. And Efficiency Maine is an independent, not-for-profit, quasi-state agency that provides a one-stop shop for the state's energy consumers. Its programs serve all sectors of the economy, including the state's large industrials, commercial properties, small businesses, and residential customers, and it offers measures across all fuel types, ranging from traditional energy efficiency measures to load management and beneficial electrification, including heat pump retrofits and electric vehicles. So that is what we are calling an active efficiency scope. Efficiency Maine's budgets are funded by the utilities, the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative, RGGI, and regional grid operators' forward capacity markets, federal grants, and settlement awards. Efficiency Maine is also managed by a stakeholder board of trustees and has oversight from the Maine Public Utilities Commission. So Michael, thank you so much for joining us and getting us started on today's summit.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. I'll start out just by saying Efficiency Maine Trust has run a number of programs, including one that's incentivizing heat pumps for Mainers. And I've read that in recent years, you've installed more than 60,000 heat pumps and 35,000 heat pump water heaters. On a per capita basis, that is a really high penetration, which is no small feat in a state that is predominantly rural and that has one of the coldest climates in the nation. So tell us about the program. How did you do it? What would you say has been the key to Maine's success, fostering market transformation? And what does it mean for Mainers?
Well, thanks for that question. You know, the first thing was we had to convince people that they worked. There was a lot of suggestion that heat pumps would not work in the cold weather. And with the advances in technology over the last decade, we've found out for sure that they do, and they'll work all winter long. And the reason that was key was because what's really making this take off is customer satisfaction, and customer satisfaction leads to word of mouth marketing. And so I'd love to take all the credit for the sort of viral popularity of heat pumps, but I think what's really doing it is that they just work really, really well, and people are really happy with them. So we've mostly tried to just get out of the way and make sure we didn't mess that up. There have been a few things we've done that I think have helped. One is we set the bar very high on setting the minimum performance standards, the minimum heating seasonal performance factor. We set it at 12 for a single head unit and 10 for a multi-head unit. And that's considerably higher than the Energy Star standard. And what that does is it ensures that they will perform very well and have a lot of capacity, even when it's 0 degrees Fahrenheit out, or even when it's below 0 degrees, which it is occasionally here in Maine, not for as many hours as people think, but nonetheless, we want to make sure that they're providing heat even in those super cold temps, and they do. And that's been critical to keeping customers happy. The other thing is we wanted to make sure that this measure was accessible to everybody, and it was easy to get involved with. And I think we've been able to do that. We certainly went out of our way to make sure that we had enhanced rebates for low-income customers, low and moderate income. We had a special promotion just serving mobile homes for an entire summer. So we've had more than 4,000 units go into low-income homes alone as part of that 60,000 heat pump figure you mentioned. I think one of the things we're proudest of is the supply chain here in Maine. I mean, obviously the manufacturers have been great delivering product here. You got to have the product, but as recently as 5 years ago, there were just over 400 vendors that were registered to supply heat pumps. And now we have almost 1,000. A couple of pieces of that have to really work. One is they have to do good work. They have to be professional and provide quality installations. Otherwise, customers will be unhappy. I think we've contributed to that by making sure that the rebates we had were simple and they were sustainable year over year. They've been very predictable, which means these vendors can plan their marketing around our program. They know we're not going to change it frequently. They know those rebates are going to be there this year and next. We've built a lot of tools for them to help them sell to customers. So customers can look them up on an online locating tool, kind of like the Yellow Pages online, search by your zip code and it'll tell you who's nearby. We have easy financing. We've made these guys sign codes of conduct and make sure they have minimum training and certifications. But at the end of the day, what that translates into is competition, and competition in every corner of the state, even in the most rural, northernmost counties of Maine, all the way into the Western mountains. There's a lot of competition, and that's keeping prices down. And so prices being down and quality being up means these systems are affordable. I think we've also helped with the education campaign we put together. We have a lot of information on our website, which I would welcome people to go check out. A couple of years ago, we were worried that people weren't running their heat pumps enough. They were turning them off. They had been told that they wouldn't work well in the cold, so they just turned them off, which was a shame because it's the most affordable way to make a BTU in Maine and also the cleanest. So we had a whole campaign on how to optimize the performance of these. And I think that's going to happen when you have a new technology like this. But we now have user tips and YouTube videos and Google ads that are sort of bombarding people with information about how to make sure these things work well. So as you said, we're now seeing somewhere between 7 and 10% of all the homes in Maine have a high performance cold climate heat pump. We've expanded into the small business and commercial spaces. I think we're going to see a lot more VRFs in commercial spaces. So I think it's starting to happen. You're seeing scaling up of beneficial electrification in heating.
Excellent. So the main trends that I'm hearing here are consistency in the policy, accessibility for all participants, and an education and an outreach campaign that was really comprehensive. And that leads you to a point where really market competition starts to take it off. That's all very exciting. I'd love to also talk about the main purpose of today's summit is to talk about active efficiency, which is putting a lot of the emphasis on how all the different pieces of energy consuming coordination can be put together. Not only thinking about beneficial electrification, but how it fits into the strategy with energy efficiency, demand response, demand flexibility. How do you really cover the whole scale of the opportunity in optimizing energy? And I noticed that just yesterday, the Maine Climate Council delivered its climate action plan to the governor and the legislature. Congratulations. It includes some very assertive goals for electrification, with Maine going 90% electric in thermal and transportation by 2050. What are the state's objectives for pursuing electrification at those levels? Is it primarily about decarbonization, or is there more? And what is the role that you envision for active efficiency in helping you get there?
Well, the driver that you're describing in that climate action plan is clearly decarbonization. In Maine, it has the added benefit of saving us money too, because more than 60% of the homes in Maine are heated with number 2 fuel oil, which prices jump all around, but it has generally been considerably more expensive to heat your home with heating oil, or certainly propane, than with heat pumps. And we have pretty affordable electricity in Maine. But in addition to saving money, we would be right now switching to heat pumps is going to save about 60% on greenhouse gas emissions. And I think as our grid gets much cleaner, that number will just go up. So there are really three legs to the stool in the climate action plan to meet our long-range carbon reduction goals. You have to have massive electrification. We talked about heating, and the same is true for heat pumps and obviously for transportation as well. You need a lot more generation to supply that electrification, and that generation has to be clean. So it's got to come from low or no carbon resources. And then the third leg of the stool is you got to have a grid that can carry that electricity from the generator to the end user, and do so reliably and affordably. The estimates we had were that if we were to build out the grid and the generation in Maine to accommodate all of that electrification, we would need to double or triple the amount of generation that we have and the size of our grid. And it won't surprise anyone on this call who knows about transmission and distribution systems. That's billions and billions of dollars. So to the extent that we can optimize the size of that grid and not build it 1 megawatt bigger in capacity than necessary, we will be saving Mainers billions of dollars, which means there's a lot of money on the table, and a huge opportunity for, as Clay was saying, the fact that these are all digital and can be controlled digitally in real time means heat pumps, heat pump water heaters, and EV chargers all could play a really big role in providing energy storage and load shifting so that we can avoid the peaks and push some of that load off into the off-peak hours. Obviously, heat pump water heaters and EV chargers or EV cars have these different types of storage, and I think that's going to play a huge role. So we're already piloting ways that we can do that in Maine with time of use and also sort of pre-programming equipment to shift to off-peak charging. We're really excited about it. I think it's going to play a huge role.
That is excellent. And believe it or not, we're almost out of time. So I'll just close out by saying thank you very much for taking some time to chat with us. I will flag for everybody listening. I highly recommend you go to the Efficiency Maine Trust website, learn more about their programs and their unique model. I'll also flag that on the activeefficiency.org website, which has been launched today, we do highlight Efficiency Maine's experience as one of the case examples in the stories section. So feel free to check in there as well. Michael, thank you.
Thanks for having me.